Hey everyone, John here. Well, welcome to the channel. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to talk about something that's really dear to my heart today, something that I think is really important, and that is mental illness and mental health. I can remember being in my early 20s when I realized that I was different from most people. I realized that everyone experienced what I called circumstantial sadness when they went through trauma, when they experienced a loss, when they had deep pain of some kind. It was natural that they would be sad, that they would feel despair, that they would feel overwhelmed, and even quite hopeless. But usually, as circumstances changed, their sadness would dissipate and they would move on to a more normal rhythm. But my sadness, it lingered. My sadness was not tied to my circumstances. In fact, my circumstances could be quite favorable. Outwardly, I could have all sorts of evidence to be happy, and yet I could still be stuck in that place of heaviness and sadness and hopelessness. Now, when I was starting to realize much of this, I was in the church, and organized religion was a regular part of my life, which turned out to be difficult because historically the church doesn't do a really great job of talking about mental illness. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that the people around me didn't care for me deeply. They did, and they were incredibly concerned about my health and about me getting better. The problem was they, being in the church, were often conditioned to provide just a couple answers for all the things that were difficult or unpleasant or messy. And those included some form of the answers that I got, which was pray, read the Bible, and ask God to help you. As if those were things I hadn't thought of. I'd thought of those things, I'd done those things, I'd prayed, and I'd read the Bible, and I'd asked God to fix me, and yet God, for some reason, hadn't fixed me. And so on top of the sadness that I already had, there was an even greater despair. Because what depression and mental illness do is they push us away from people. They create barriers between ourselves and others because it's difficult to even formulate in our heads what's going on. And then when we can, it's even more difficult to talk about those things with other people. And we tend to begin to isolate ourselves. We begin to back away from community. So you pile on that sort of isolation with the guilt that says that you're not spiritual enough, which is what I had. I had that feeling of, well, if I was a better Christian, well, then I wouldn't be having this heavy sadness that I can't seem to shake. Now, if you're here and you're watching this video, this is the point in the video when you're hoping that someone like myself will say, but that was then, and this is now, and here's how I've overcome this thing, and here's how you can too. And I'm not going to do that. Because the truth is, yes, I've prayed and I've studied the Bible, I've read the Bible, and I've asked God to sort of fix this. And I've done lots of other things too. I've gone to doctors and I've gotten medications that would help. And I've meditated and I've exercised and I've gone to therapy and I've journaled. And I've done all the things I can do to give myself the best chance to beat this thing. And yet I still have that heavy sadness on many days. I still have that despair that requires no evidence to feel it. I still get quite overwhelmed and feel extremely hopeless. And that's not because I'm not trying. It's because I have an illness. I share this all with you because there's going to come a day when you're really frustrated. Not only at your illness, but because you can't overcome the illness. You're going to feel the sadness that will not leave. You're going to feel that sense of hopelessness, and then you're going to feel bad about yourself for feeling it. And that's not fair to you, because the fact that you are still struggling with this doesn't mean that you're not a really decent person. It doesn't mean you're not a courageous person, that you're not good-hearted, or that you're not spiritual. It just means that you have an illness that has no cure. And because of that, there are going to be difficult days, and you're likely never going to be able to completely shake this thing. But I found strength in realizing that I'm not alone in this. And that's what I want to share with you here. There are millions of people who are similarly wounded, that have similar illnesses, and they feel like they're the only one, and they feel like they can never shake it, and they feel like failures. And so try to be encouraged by knowing there is solidarity around you, even if those things are never spoken, because you know how difficult it is to talk about all of this. And I want to encourage you, if you're really struggling, please let other people in, share your story with them, share your anxiety with them, talk to therapists and speak to clergy members and go to doctors and exercise and journal and meditate and do everything that you can do to give yourself the best chance to stay, because that's the goal. It's to endure, to persist through this illness and not let it overcome you. Because the longer you stay, the better tools you develop to fight this. And the longer you stay, the more you learn about how to live alongside this sickness. And the longer you stay, the better the world is going to be because of your presence in it. Thanks for being here. Be greatly encouraged. We'll see you again. Peace.